Good morning, everyone. This is like early for me. I think this is the earliest we've done it. But thank you for joining me for number 39 with Kassie. Hope everyone's having a good morning. What are you reading? I'm reading a novel, The Idiot. Um, and it's good. It's very different for me. But I'm finding she goes to college around the same time I went to college. And good morning. We
Hi.
did it. That was easy, right?
That was super easy.
It's just intimidating, I think, if you've just never done it before. Like new experiences can be intimidating.
They can be.
hmm So you're here and welcome, and I'm so happy to see you.
You too.
We've been meaning to do this for a bit. So, anything that you want to share or say or anything before you read your poem?
Yeah. First, thanks for having me.
Of
I love the
course.
series. Um, and then I just had my fourth book, first novel,
Oh,
finally
yes.
live as of last week. The Death
You're
and Life
so
of.
prolific, Cassie. Like, how do you do this? Like, you've put out that book of poetry, or two books of poetry. Was it one or two? See, my brain is two? Two books of
Three,
poetry.
three
Three.
of them.
What? And then you were like, oh, and now my novel's coming out. I'm like, whoa. And you have like a day job, right?
And I've got a day job
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
I don't sleep. I'm actually at the office right now. So
Wow. I'm very impressed. So, your book, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just
no,
amazed. Just
thanks.
amazed, genuinely amazed. So your book is coming out after some publisher snafus, right?
Oh,
Some printing snafus.
yeah, we had my first publisher actually went out of business during COVID.
Okay, yeah.
So a whole situation that was just absolutely nuts. Um, but luckily found another publisher and they've been amazing.
No
And so
way.
I paperback and my hardcover I should have in the next week.
That is very exciting. Congratulations.
So much fun. This
I'm
has been a long time coming. This is one that was I started it when I was in between homes when I was 18 and then picked it back up in my mid 30s and it's finally here. I'm so excited.
I am always impressed by people can return to their earlier writing, and then I've done it too, so I'm impressed by me, but you can return to something that you wrote earlier and then make it fresh and present to you now.
Yeah.
Like that you don't just like say, "Oh, well that was me when I was 18 and I'm not that person anymore and I can't, tell this story anymore," but instead revisit it with fresh eyes and bring
Oh,
more to it, I think,
and got a lot.
ultimately.
I found I'm a lot more cynical now, so it actually might have
Interesting.
helped it or hurt it. We'll see.
I think I'm less cynical than I
Are you?
was when I was 18. Yeah, I was very cynical. Now I'm just like maybe normal amounts,
Yeah.
hopeful slash cynical. I don't know, but I was
No.
definitely when I was 18. I was like, we're screwed, which I sort of also can feel now, but um, I have some hope, I guess. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Congratulations. Where can they find your book?
On Amazon, Barnes and Noble, on my website, CassieJRunyan.com, if you want a signed copy with some swag, which I always go
You're so
with.
good at the swag too.
I'm so, this time it's handmade tote bags and notebooks.
Nice.
So,
I love your swag. It's really lovely. Do you design it all yourself?
yeah, yeah. I try to get
Nice.
stuff that's actually useful to the,
Right.
like, I mean, I always love getting swag that's useful. I love,
hmm
like, we have bookmarks in every book that we've half read.
hmm
Um, but I love doing things like I always am looking for a tote bag too. So it works out really well. I design things that I like. So
hmm I think that's a good guiding principle
yeah, if
in
I
general.
it, then, and I love sending stuff to people where they get to open up a package of fun
hmm
stuff.
hmm
So just, it kind of, it makes my day to get stuff like that. So I love sending it. So I
It
always
is
find
fun.
it crazy.
I need to bring a little bit more. I'm fulfilling Reburn 3 and 4 right now. I'm beginning to do that. So I'm taping and making packages, and I need to bring a little bit more of that energy and
Yeah.
less of the, okay, what? it's a lot. I mean, that it's just joyous that you're getting to send your work out into the world. That like people want to read your work is a huge thing because, you know,
It's
so many
so,
of us, all of us, like write for ourselves for a long time before we share it with people.
yeah. And I keep checking the Kindle numbers on Amazon, and
Oh, that's fun.
2,000 pages were read, and I
Oh,
had,
that's fun.
oh, it's so cool. Is and then followed immediately by like, what if it was a lot of people that only read 2 pages and then shut it?
That'd be a lot of people,
We'll see.
Cassie.
We'll
I
see.
mean, that's an accomplishment. If that many people were just piqued by your log line or your pitch, like that's an accomplishment. So even if
Yeah,
that's true, that's still impressive.
yeah. Ultimately, I'm just so thrilled just for people to actually read it.
Yeah.
But
I,
it's like,
I I'm always grateful. You know, it's a
yes,
simple like thing, but it's real. Everybody's got a lot of choices
yeah,
of things to do with their time. You know, it's not like when I was young where it was like, I guess I'll read this book because I literally have nothing else to read that is
yeah,
vaguely of interest to me, so I'll read it. I mean, now
yeah.
it's like there's so many not
There's
only books but incredible books and podcasts and movies and TV shows and comics and all the things.
oh
So
yeah.
if people take time out of their lives to read what we've created, it's a compliment.
It's yeah, it's huge. I can't get past the fact that people will read it and hopefully like it. The beta readers liked it, so I'm hoping that means that strangers will like it. Go from there.
Yes, they will. How many beta readers did you have? And then let's read your poem.
So 8 that read it all the way through. A handful that were not readers that offered to beta read it and read some of it and then never made it.
That's funny. I
Where I
think
got
that happens a lot.
that happens a lot where people are like, I want to read it, and then
Mm-hmm.
2 months later, I'm like, so what do you think? Oh, I got really. The kids have soccer. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. The last time I finished a book was a year ago. Nothing personal. Yeah.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So I get
Mm-hmm.
it. But I've got, I mean, my work has been hugely supportive with it coming out,
Oh, that's so nice.
and put it on their or LinkedIn, and I've
Nice.
shared it, and a lot of people who have purchased it here. So hopefully they don't. It's a relatively new job. I'm only month 4, so hopefully they don't read this and go, "Oh, geez."
That's really lovely. Yay,
Yeah.
your workplace.
Yes. Yeah. It's incredible.
Well, wonderful. Okay, so anything else you want to share, or do you want to read your poem?
Nope.
Okay,
Jump right
I'm
in.
ready whenever you are.
Okay. I am from a child's dream, formed of stars and sheep. I am from yesterday's home, always changing, painting patterns on the wall and smelling like lavender. I am from dirt in the ground as it runs through my fingers and I imagine what will grow. I am from music being sung in every room from the lips of my mother and my father. I am formed by dancing in the living room and traveling to where the storybooks live. From the whisper that I can be who I was meant to be and create my own future. I am from a realist and a dreamer, given a foot in both worlds. I am from gypsies living under the stars and the worn hands of farmers far from home. I am from names written in worn out letters on pages cut from old newspapers and hidden in a record player that travels from home to home. I am from a line on a tree that grew for years, each leaf impacting the life that I would dream all those nights ago.
Yay! Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, really beautiful. Welcome, Lena. You just missed it. um, but you could watch in the replay, and it was wonderful. So, what was your experience of writing the poem? You write a lot of poetry because I have to explain to people that they don't need to be poets to join me. But then I do have poets join me, and you are one of them. So, what had you written this before you were going to join me, or did you write it for this?
I wrote it for
Okay.
this exercise. I actually, it's so funny because I co-own a poetry magazine, and we give
Yes.
people themes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and lots of times I'm so busy, I end up just going through old works and finding stuff that fits into our own theme to throw in for
Mm-hmm.
the um, but when I have time to actually sit down and be inspired to write something, it's a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and one that I take for granted a lot. So this was really helpful of looking at this and writing something that, like, having to put myself into the moment,
Mm-hmm.
something that I hadn't written before. So I like to write poetry a lot. Like if I'm not actually physically in the moment, like in a pub in Ireland and writing about the pub in Ireland,
Mm-hmm.
I like to mentally put myself into that moment. So I thought back just to my childhood. Um, what was really what stood out the most as I was growing up, because that's what was important. And a lot of growing up was related to music and to the garden and to the really simple moments of being a child in the 80s, right? Is very calm and normal.
It
And
felt very serene,
yeah,
which is
we
sort of hard to imagine. It really
did.
transported me to that ethos, which is difficult to really imagine now.
Yeah.
Like, what was it like to just, and I try to explain it to my children, but it's not the same as living it. Like, there really was just time
Oh, yeah.
unspooling for what felt like ever, particularly like in a time like summer. You
Yeah.
know, I was ready to go back to school when it was time to go back to school.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, it's enough of this.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really feel like that. Why would they?
Well, and they don't ever disconnect from their friends. I've got nieces, and I had my 15 and 13-year-old nieces visited us a week ago in New York. And they were telling us how they'll send pictures of their trip to New York back to all their friends and teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess you can do that because you're
Mm-hmm.
connected all the time. It's not like, oh, you have to wait now till
Mm-hmm.
August and then take them and have this whole thing. Um,
Actual pictures.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
wear clothes and no one's seen them. And yeah.
right. And well, and also all the memes, like just forwarding each other, like they're almost in this sort of ongoing conversation
Yeah.
where also I would travel as a kid and I might meet someone and really connect with them. And then it's like, bye for the rest of our lives.
Exactly.
You know, we would maybe exchange letters for a while, but that you're never going to see each other again. So
Yeah.
it's sort
Yeah.
of pointless. But that's not how it is now. And it's just this kind of, yeah, reality was different
Yeah.
than it
It
is now.
was simple and easy. And I mean, it was hard, right? It's still, you had the normal hardness of the
Being a
80s.
human.
Yeah, and everything, but you were almost sheltered from it a little bit more
Mm.
too. Didn't have things like the internet and that. It was on Saturday, you went out to the yard. Um, you know, I feel like every generation, right? When then you look at the new generation, you're like, psh, that's just crazy. They don't even know how good it was.
I mean, they don't. It's just, yeah, it's like I couldn't really relate to my mother's childhood. They can't relate to,
Yeah.
I mean, they can hear stories and they can watch Stranger Things. They can evoke a time, and they can be like, oh, wow, you guys rode your bikes a lot or whatever. But I mean, it's not, it's, it's very difficult to capture, feelings in that way.
Yeah.
Like it happens every once in a while with a movie or a book where you feel like, oh, it really like immerses you and you feel that kind of expansiveness. And I feel that in your poem, this kind of expansiveness. And um but yours feels like the magical bit, not the like weight of the expansiveness. Like, oh my God, where are the other humans that I can interact with? And I was surrounded by family and people, but it was just different. I just spent a lot more time staring at the ocean than I think
Yeah.
they could possibly do. It's like, I'll just sit here.
I spent a lot like in a playhouse or in a tree
Right,
in the back
right.
reading books. That was summer.
Yeah. So
Or
many.
singing Christmas carols in the middle of the summer, which I don't know.
Yeah. And did you find like you were, because sometimes I feel real specific age. Did you feel like you were at a specific age or was it more just the general um,
It
feeling?
was more the general, the
Mm-hmm.
singing,
Mm-hmm.
that was one where like our house always had music in it growing up. And there was a lot of dancing and a lot of singing and a lot of music
Mm-hmm.
played all the time. And that was all of my childhood, but specifically remembering as a small child, and dancing with my parents in the living room and that kind of stuff.
That's really
Uh,
sweet. I hope you share this with your family because this is really sweet. Like
Yeah,
sometimes those are more on the sad side, mine, and this is really like very celebratory. I felt like.
yeah, it was, I think I definitely lucked out with there were for sure hard times growing up, but I really lucked out with the family I was born into and having them in my life. So that really fed into a lot of this. And the painting on the wall, that was a big one. My mom painted our hallway all the time, like it felt like every few years probably,
Mhm.
and it was always very intricate, like
Oh,
taped different colors and stuff like
wow.
that. It was, for some reason, when I just put myself into that moment, that was a big one that stood out to me, which of course as a kid it never did. It was just like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
the
interesting.
like gray and blue. Um,
But it
but
was
when
so much more uncommon then.
yeah,
People
and it was
didn't like paint their walls like they do now. I felt
no,
like we just had the same walls like forever
yeah,
until they painted the house. And then, because I remember moving into my apartment and like, I'm going to paint the wall red. I'm going to paint a wall. And that was just like,
yeah,
it was so exciting. So that's kind of your mother was a little different than other folks for sure. That was
yeah.
not something that was happening.
They did so much work on the little house that they bought.
Mm-hmm.
It was just amazing. But then that, and then the old record player. So that was another thing. They had this old stand-up Victrola, and in it had pieces or like newspapers
Mm-hmm.
scrunched up, and that was just something that I thought about too. We went through it, and it has moved with them everywhere. It's in their new
Mm-hmm.
house. Um, and every time that we would get that out and play something on it, one of those old thick records, and listening to that and reading all of the little newspaper clippings that were in it.
Yeah. And it still works.
Yeah, yep,
Wow.
yeah.
That old technology.
I know, right?
It's like I refer that to a touchpad. I don't want your touchpads. They break. And then I have to get new ones.
Yeah,
I just want something that works.
I
And
know.
they're, like, and you really can't imagine, like, I have my laptop. I'm not going to be showing this to my kids in 100 years, or whatever, my ancestors.
I'll have it now. If it breaks, though, you just go get a new one.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
And like, they'll
why
use that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
to say it's like so every time now, every time everything breaks, though, you have to get a new one, and it's horribly expensive.
Yeah. I always love it in comic books or TV or whenever there's time travel and they like come across these devices, what they make them out to be. Like I
Yeah,
always get a good laugh out of that because they, of course, have no point of reference like for a phone that
yeah,
we hold our whole lives in.
right.
Um, and it's just like, what is this stupid thing? And
Oh my!
it always makes me laugh.
I just want to see a teenager now carry around a CD player hooked on that every time.
And then trying to get one that didn't skip.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's 8 songs.
You just put it on repeat, and yeah. I
Yeah.
tried to get because I would jog and you try to, that's so funny. I haven't thought about that in a long time. Terrible technology
Oh,
for, what you're trying to do with it.
yeah,
Like it's supposed to be portable, but the
yeah.
technology itself is not really great at being portable
No,
at
no,
all. It really
no.
should just sit still.
Yeah, absolutely horrible.
Hmm.
I, well, now we don't even have MP3. I almost said now we have MP3 on my phone. I have a randomizer when I walk to work, and I don't think I have the same song in 6 months.
Right. I'm still like a relic where I'm like, I will listen to this album like over and over. I'm still that person. And I remember when I went on to Europe when I was like in college or whatever, backpacking, I took 4 tapes, I
Nice.
think, and my Walkman, and I listened to some were mixtapes. But those still, if I hear one of those songs, man, it's like,
And
boom. Yeah.
yeah, just transported.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's part of the reason I love this music over and over again. I like that sensation. I want to still have it when I'm 80. Remember
Yeah.
when I was in my 40s and I listened to this Lord Huron song over and over again? Um, so it's a funny tangent from Victrola. Um, Anything else that you thought about, experienced, reflected upon that you'd like to share?
Um, no, just I just love the experience.
Oh, good.
I love hearing everyone's stories too, and I love the opportunity that it actually got me
Mm-hmm.
back thinking through like the things that stood out in my childhood as memories. It's so much fun thinking of it, that what created you, instead of where you're from not being necessarily a place, but
Mm-hmm.
what created you,
Mm-hmm.
how to get to where you are. And it's so many little things that don't impact you in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but impact you so heavily later when you're looking back on it.
Yeah, it's so true because when you are living your childhood, to you, it seems perfectly normal and run of the mill. And I mean, it's not till later till you start to have that experience of like, oh, not everyone had this. This was not how it was for everyone. Yeah, and we were saying in the last one I did last week with Kim, like this sort of desire to be able to say to people, here's the things, like here's the five, six things that really influenced who I am today, which we don't really get to do. And sometimes I wish we could, because it could save us a lot of, especially when I was younger and I felt like I was walking around with a really different set of playing cards than everyone else. I think it
Yeah.
would have helped. I was like just trying to seek out people who I just didn't feel just completely foreign. Um,
Yep.
and I just, oh, my dog just tried to come in,
Oh,
slammed herself into the door. Um,
we do.
yeah, I was just like always trying to read signs,
Yeah.
like who's for me, who's not for me. And
Oh, well, and that's a tough one. Like I feel like at some point, once you exhaust everyone who wants to do this from, you should do one that will impacted me, and that's a whole different story.
I need to find a prompt for that. I when I started this, I thought, oh, this is gonna. I mean, it was completely a whim, and now I
Yeah,
have people scheduled till Christmas. So
that's incredible.
it's really, I think it just speaks to how most people have something to say. And if asked to share it, they're like, oh, are you? I mean, of course, some people are like, no way, I'm not getting on Instagram Live. But many people are like, oh, okay, me?
Yeah,
Like, yes, of course, whoever
yeah,
you are, you have something to say. You are from somewhere. There just aren't that many spaces, I guess, where people are just encouraged to share who they are. I'm happy to be this person. It brings me a lot of joy.
I love it. I love it. And now you get to talk to all these
I
people and
love it.
that up too.
I love connecting with all these people. Like, I feel like I know you, but we've literally never interacted aside from Instagram messages and our posts. But, it's like, oh, it's just, it grounds, like, because for me, social media, I do try to just stay on the good part. I
Yeah,
try not to get into the noise of followers or whatever, like, because it's just noise. And just the connections and grounding those virtual connections and in yet another virtual experience. But, like still this, I feel like I've met you now.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
I,
And I really appreciate that.
yeah, me too.
So,
Uh,
well, thank you, Lee. She loves it. And yes, wow, Lena. Christmas. I mean, December 19th. That's close enough. Um, and that's because of all of you coming here and sharing yourselves. And this, like, it's just like, it's a piece of, for me, speaking of cynicism, for me,
yeah,
this gives me hope. Like this sort of space and just having, and it calms me and it's a real gift for me.
yeah,
So,
I agree. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started my magazine,
yeah.
was to give people the ability that couldn't get published other places or hadn't been published, a
Mm-hmm.
place to be published so that they could
Mm-hmm.
say, my work, I'm validated. Like
It's
my
so
work
important.
into something that I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's really important.
if anyone listening, it's opendoorpoetrymagazine.com. So we take submissions every month. We have a monthly theme. Our next issue is coming out as soon as possible.
Well, you
Um,
just had a book come out, so like, you got stuff going on.
and our next one is the theme is mental health. So it's actually our longest issue ever,
Mm-hmm.
because we had a lot of stories and short stories and poems and art and stuff come in. And one of
I
the
bet.
biggest things I wanted to do was give everyone a voice in this issue, and make sure that everyone had a voice to help others that might have mental health issues. So,
That's really important. I love that too, Lena. I agree. Validated and valued. I think it's really because so many of us came up during a time when, at least I'll speak for myself, where it was like, oh, this is good, this is not good, and nobody was really considering voice or point of view or like that maybe it's not good to you because it's not for you.
yeah,
And that was not a conversation anyone was having, and I found that really damaging to my creative life.
yeah,
So, I think I that is another thing that's a positive about social media. I think people finding their audience, hopefully,
sure.
and that, you know, nothing's for everyone. Absolutely nothing.
No,
So, um, yeah, your stuff isn't good or bad. Your stuff is just, anyway, if there's space for it to grow or evolve or what, it was so like binary in that way. And it's trash for being creative. It's just the worst.
like you're doing with this series, everybody has something to say.
I agree.
A lot of people just want someone to hear it or read
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah. Feel seen.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I love everything you're doing, Kassie, and I'm grateful you took the time because I know your time is really precious, and I'm impressed that you did it from your job, and I'm impressed that you have a job that supports you and your dreams beyond your job.
Yeah, it's amazing. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I thank you so much, and thank you everyone who tuned in. Bye.
Bye.